Play the video first. See, it's been forever. I'm all over the place. And
Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
whoa! Hey there! Welcome to the Schnitzel Boys podcast, Schnitzel Boys 7, Thanksgiving leftovers.
Leftovers?
Gobble, gobble. Yeah, it was yesterday we got leftovers. How you doing, my co-host Bjorn? How you doing? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was great, actually, very nice. We're at my wife's brother's family in San Francisco, and they genuinely made a delicious meal. It was very,
Nice.
very good. Yes.
What were the highlights? What kind of meal we talking?
Well, he is married to a Mexican American woman, and so there are, there's always a twist, which is exciting. She had a cornbread chorizo stuffing that stood out
Holy
to me
moly.
as very, very delicious. Yeah. And
Chorizo stuffing. I like that.
yeah. So that was really good. The turkey was also, she brined. I don't know, are you a briner or a non-briner?
Hi, Brian. Back
Yeah,
in my
she-
old turkey days. Yeah, I was a
She
briner.
brined as well. Oh, right. You no longer kill
No,
turkeys.
I don't gobble gobble. No, I mean someone does. Not that I ever did in the past, but I just don't eat them.
Yeah, she brined. I was a briner previously. It's just a pain in the ass. You got to get a big bag, and it has to go in the fridge. It's logistically
For
difficult.
what? 2 days? 3 days? Something like that?
Yeah, it takes up a lot of fridge space. But anyway, they did a great job. It was great. And
Excellent.
the family was fairly well behaved. I think that's it's a COVID. Everybody's a little banged up, so no one has the energy to get into it like they used to.
No, well, I was lucky. I was with friends this time, and we're all on the same page, which was nice. There was 10 of us, and we all just seemed to be on the same page. So when it got to that moment of when, we had a few in us, and it was time to just let loose, all 10 of us were on the same page. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So it ended up being fine. I was with a friend, and we had a lovely meal in the backyard with a turkey. And I didn't have that, but I had potatoes and yams and string peas and all sorts of
Nice.
stuff. And a great Brussels sprouts. It's delicious. They had oysters there. I drank a lot
oysters,
of
wow.
wine. Yeah, as an hors d'oeuvre. They had cashews, but they put it in oil and salt and pepper. They spiced it or something, so it was like nice cashews. I know, I was very impressed. And then we all did karaoke afterwards, which was a lot of fun. Because my friend had a
Oh, that
karaoke
sounds-
set up at his place.
That sounds
And
great.
then
What
but,
are
like,
your sorry to interrupt, what are your karaoke go-tos?
I did not sing any because I'm not a karaoke guy,
Okay.
but I am polite. And I let them sing. And one of the ladies was a professional singer. She's really good. And then one of the guys put up a really obscure song from the musical Hello, Dolly, which I
Oh.
knew. It was like, what's this one? And I didn't know it. Then when you started playing it, it's like, oh, I know this one. Out there, something something. It's something Barnaby.
Oh yeah, okay.
We're gonna get something Barnaby. You know, it was a song with the two youngins trying to head to the city, and I did that show in high school. So of all the karaoke songs that were playing, there were a lot of really cool ones. A lot of Oasis, some Patsy Cline,
Okay.
you know, some Bee Gees. You know, my friend sung on falsetto the Bee Gees. But when that Hello Dolly song came on, I was like, this is my jam. It's like, this I know.
You know, that's amazing.
We're gonna put on our Sunday's best. See, I don't even know the words. I need the karaoke for it. But it's the song in the beginning of the musical where everyone, Dolly and Mr. Vandergelder and Barnaby and Cornelius, they're all just like, we're going to the city this weekend. That's what that song was. And
right.
I knew that song. So
That's great.
it was a lovely Thanksgiving overall. So, but you're in Colorado now skiing? I'm jealous. Where are you skiing at?
Yeah, I'm at a basin, Arapahoe Basin. Yeah, this is my.
Nice.
I'm doing sort of like ski in the morning, work remotely in the afternoon, kind of thing. It's very
And podcast at night.
and podcast at night. That's right.
Wait a minute. What time is it? Is it 6 or 7 for
It's
you right
7 o'clock. Yeah,
your
7
mountain
p.m.
time.
7 p.m. Mountain Time. But I'm pooped, man. The altitude between the altitude and a lot of exercise. I don't think I'll last much past the end of this podcast in terms of staying awake. Yeah.
Well, let's get a good long work day, right? Work, ski, podcast. Okay, that's
Yes.
that's what a full day is. I remember I was in Montana once upon a time doing comedy at Big Sky, a really nice.
Oh, yeah,
resort.
beautiful.
Beautiful place. If I'm ever a rich millionaire, I'm gonna go back. But like, I remember just walking down to the taco truck and then getting a burrito, and by the time I got to the burrito truck, I was exhausted because the air is so thin. It's just every step is like you're stepping with an extra 40 pounds on your shoulder. It's pretty crazy. So, you know.
Yeah, you notice it.
Just like that's why Estadio Azteca is the way it is. Imagine that times 2. So you're in the state that had the Western Conference champion.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah.
I was
How far are you from?
Well, I landed in Denver and I actually drove past. I drove past the sign for Dick's Sporting Goods Park, and I was like, "Yes,
Nice.
unfortunately, that fantasy has ended. They could have had
One and done, my friend.
Could have had a few more. Could have had a few more games there, but it was not to be. It was not to be.
No, it was a Thanksgiving special super broadcast on ABC, I believe.
Yeah.
Or Fox? No, it was ABC, I think.
No, ABC.
And Portland, spoiled Colorado's party, which goes to the old adage that teams that do very well in the regular season struggle in the postseason for whatever reason.
Well, we'll talk about it. I hope that trend continues tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you want to go straight to the American stuff right now? We'll do that, and then we're done. We'll hop over across the pond to Deutschland.
Let's do it. Sure.
So, well, first things first, right? And this is on you, I believe, right?
Yep. Let's
do you have the stuff? Should I play it for you?
Yes, please.
I will play it for you. This might be the shorter version, but it's okay because
I'll
we
be
only
quick.
have a few things to talk about, right?
I'll be
And
quick.
ready?
Now it's time for the American Soccer Rundown.
All right. On Tuesday, Nashville beat Orlando 3-1 with a goal by Daryl DK, but not enough against the brace by Nashville's Berliner Hardy Mukhtar. RSL beat the Sounders 6-5 on PKs in what can only be described as a smash and grab win. On MLS's first ever Thanksgiving Day game, we just mentioned it, Portland beat Western Conference leaders Colorado 1-0. And yesterday, Sunday, the MLS playoff week concluded with RSL beating SKC 2-1 to continue their Cinderella run. And Philly beat Nashville 2-0 on penalties after a 1-1 game. Nashville missing all 4 penalty attempts. Philly will play the winner of tomorrow's NLCFC versus Revs game in the Eastern Conference Final. And Portland hosts RSL in the Western Conference Final. Both games happening this weekend. And that's your American Soccer Rundown.
Soccer Rundown. There you I was gonna say, I thought that was the natural ending.
Oh, maybe
Sorry,
it
that's
is
my
the
mistake.
longer.
always-
You got the longer version.
Perhaps. And boom. Well done. Thank you very much for that American Soccer Rundown. Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a few things to talk about. The Colorado Portland. Here we go. What was the first one since we saw each other last week? It was
that was the Colorado one, wasn't it? There was nothing else. Oh, I guess on Monday night they had some games after we were.
So Nashville beat Orlando. Daryl Dike scored. Harry Mukhtar scored 2 great goals. Not much to talk about it, just how great Harry Mukhtar was.
Yeah.
Oh, and then RSL versus Sounders, the smash and grab. I remember watching that game. The Sounders had the ball the whole time. I think there were no shots on goal, at least for RSL. Sounders seemed to have a lot of opportunities, but I guess none of them were on target. And then at the end,
the Sounders,
RSL...
the Sounders controlled it, but they also didn't really generate a lot of big chances. It didn't seem like. I don't know.
And it was also Raul Diaz's last game. I believe that's the writing on the wall, which would be a big loss for them because he's been such a great player for Seattle. Yeah. And Seattle's a great postseason team, but not this year. They got Real Salt Lake's on a tear. I'm loving this Real Salt Lake. They snuck in. They have no owner. They have no real coach, just an interim coach.
Yeah,
their players. Their one goalkeeper was fined for being racist to his other goalkeeper a couple weeks ago, and the other goalkeeper is being racist to is considered to be a league villain because of the way he behaves and how he taunts everybody and so forth.
He is.
I don't know if you saw his.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw his Instagram.
He's pretty irritating. I would.
Very irritating.
We should mention that you said that Salt Lake doesn't have a coach. We should mention that their previous head coach, Freddie Juarez, left voluntarily to take an assistant job at Seattle. He felt that was a better career move for him.
What a great FU from RSL.
Keep his head coaching position.
On the broadcast, they kept cutting to him. They kept cutting to Freddie Juarez sitting there, and there's a moment where he just does this, puts his hands on his head. It's funny. He's probably making more money as an assistant, but RSL telling everybody to go F themselves. I want them to win MLS Cup. I'm going to say that right now. I want RSL to win MLS Cup because of how much I think the postseason system is flawed, first off, so I think it'd be hilarious. And I just love little Cinderella stories like that. And I love seeing Bobby Wood come off the bench and scoring great winning goals, which he did a couple days ago in
the Kansas City game. Right.
In the Kansas City game. So RSL's got 2 down, 1 to go. They're going to Portland. And if I'm Portland without Asprilla and without Blanco, I'm shaking my boots because RSL's got something to say. RSL has the best German soccer player of all time, Demir Kaila.
We're going to keep this
coming in. I keep all my bits going. Demir Kaila, the Croatian dude.
Still not German. Still not German.
He's German in my heart. He's German in my heart. And he's probably German. I'll put money on his grandpa's German or something. So he's there. He's crushing. You got Bobby Wood. You got Rubio Rabin. You got Justin Glad, the pair of the postseason. You got the villain goalkeeper, Ochoa. You've got just a great little team there ready to go in and frickin' smash and grab, just like Colorado did in 2010. Just come in, smash and grab, and steal that MLS Cup.
I am certainly rooting for them to make the final because that's the only scenario in which NYCFC could host MLS Cup is if we make it and RSL makes it in too. I mean that would be just magic.
I would love that. It would be such a dumpster fire. MLS would have to broadcast live from that terrible, terrible stadium up in the Bronx. They'll have no choice.
Wait, what?
Or they will broadcast live from Red Bull Arena, which would make me gut laugh. Because you guys would be playing in New Jersey, in my stadium.
Why would we do that? Guests. No, that's not a thing that would happen. It would be at Yankee Stadium. What's the problem? What's your problem with the Yankee Stadium?
It's a baseball stadium. It's the wrong shape. It's too thin. It's just legal to be a soccer field.
It's 70. It's 70
I know
yards.
They'll do it. It'll be.
It's 70 yards wide. This has been debunked. This idea of.
No, I know.
It's not that.
I said it's barely
small.
No, but it's like 70 is the minimum.
But a lot of fields, is the minimum. A lot of fields are that size. This is not unusual.
Average is 75. You know.
So that
I
people
mean,
have been saying it's only 60, but that's not the case. It is
no,
70.
that's debunked.
And
No,
that's been
it's the
debunked. But
FIFA
70
minimum,
to
which is
70 to
70.
75, that makes a big difference. All right.
For me, it does. For me, it
The
does.
thing about
I need those
Yankee
extra 5
Stadium,
yards.
if we want to get into it, the problem with Yankee Stadium is it looks bad on the broadcast because the camera is so far away because it's a baseball, and so that sort of then shortens the
Yes.
dimension. The lens sort of shortens the dimension, but it as actually it's not as bad as it looks on TV.
What medium will the final be broadcast on?
Well, maybe if it's the MLS Cup final, they'll like put the camera a little closer to the field for that occasion and get a better angle.
Where? How do they put it on the catchers? It's the only elevated spot is the spot they got.
Well, I'm sure they could build a tower. If it's the final, I mean, efforts could be made to improve the broadcast experience for this event. Listen, we're like skipping a bunch of steps here, painting this scenario that is honestly relatively unlikely to occur.
If the soccer gods will oblige, I think it's very likely.
I mean, I'm
calling it right now. NYCFC is going to host RSL in the final, and Real Salt Lake's going to win 3-0.
Whoa!
I'm calling it. I'm calling that right now. Mark my words.
I think we would crush them. I think that RSL would sneak into the final, and then we would beat them like 5-0. It'd be like a blowout.
5-0. No, what will happen is they'll go to the final. It'll be a 0-0 to the penalties, and RSL will win. You know what
NYCFC's record is in penalty kick shootouts?
0 for 10.
No, we've been around long enough. It's 0 for 4. It's 0 for 4. We lost every penalty kick shootout we've been in. 2 in the Open Cup, 1 last year in the playoffs, and 1 in the Leagues Cup earlier this season.
Which brings me to the one game I actually do want to talk about of the playoffs.
All right.
Is the Nashville Real Salt Lake game. Is that what it was?
Wait, you're talking about
No, which
Philly?
one's the one? Nashville, Philly.
What
was the one? I gotta tell you, what was the one where they missed 4 PKs in a row?
That was the one.
Nashville,
Philly against Nashville. That was just a puzzling. That was a puzzling game. I mean, that was really. Again, Hani Mukhtar scored the first goal and looked like he was going to be the all-time MVP. He's going to win the cup all by himself. Philly really not a lot of. I mean, did you watch the game? If Sergio Santos was on my team, I mean that was pretty frustrating. Pretty frustrating performance from him. He put himself into a bunch of good positions and then really shanked. One shank after another, and that he did that before against the Red Bulls as well. He had a couple of great chances that he couldn't like just really an odd game. So Philly couldn't do it, and Nashville eventually just kind of stopped. They were just sort of like, okay, we're gonna. I mean, if that's your strategy, if you're just gonna hold out for penalty kicks, you should make sure you can make a couple, right? Like have a little. And they missed.
I don't know what their strategy. I don't know what their strategy was.
They weren't looking to score starting second half or so.
Yeah, they also didn't use their subs until overtime. I think at the end of the 90 minutes, each coach only used 1 sub or something crazy like that, which is weird to me. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Nashville didn't have anything to offer for the whole second half of the game. Right? It was all Philly.
It really was, but also not again. Sergio Santos couldn't score brothel. Is that what we say? Or
I've never heard that before. couldn't score at a brothel. Maybe I guess we're doing it tonight. We're doing it tonight. Couldn't score at a brothel.
It was upsetting, and then Andre Blake really did the whole sort of.
Yeah, in their nightmares. What I wrote the notes.
And
his hands out.
Really unsettled, and he saved the first 2, and then both Alex Mule and Walker Zimmerman were clearly unsettled by this, and really badly missed the goal in both. And Walker Zimmerman then does the thing where he like looks at he misses the decisive penalty, so they're out and Philly's in, and he keeps looking at the ground like there was a hole there, or he somehow like that's just weak.
He did waffle it. There were 4 penalties. Andre Blake blocked 2 of them, and then Mind freaked the other 2. And I have never seen like the score says 1-1. Nashville wins 2-0 in penalties.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw the 2-0 penalty score line? I've never seen that in professional soccer, I don't think.
I think Tim Melia
maybe. But,
Tim Melia did that, I think, twice, right? Where he saved every single penalty in a shootout.
And then they scored 2. Well, then I could
don't
be wrong.
know. Yeah,
but it's not every day you see penalties 2-0. Usually it's 3-0 if it's a blowout. It's 3-0 if it's a blowout.
Because Sergio Santos also missed his penalty. Like he missed everything, every other shot in the entire game. So he made it a little more interesting. No, this was for Philly. He missed one for Philly. Yeah, that guy.
And this one, and the 18-year-old, what was his name? Jack McGlynn or something like that.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 14.
From Scranton,
Comes
PA.
on from Scranton, PA. Ale Moreno on the broadcast. The Dunder Mifflin joke shows you how popular that show is. Says Dunder Mifflin would be proud. That's an office joke for those of you who are not privy. And he steps up like a man and just places it right in the corner. And it's such a great penalty from that another new youngster coming from the Philly ranks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philly, for doing God's work. Thank you for doing what all the other clubs should be doing, bringing in young American talent. Thank you very much, Philly. Thank you for that. Thank you for the cream cheese. Thank you for a lot. So although we are enemies on the day when we don't play, I have a special spot in my heart for the Philly Union. As a boy who was originally from Philly, they are sort of a little spot in my heart for them. But unfortunately, their run. Who are they playing? They're playing the winner of the New England NYC.
Playing the winner, right? Yeah. They're either hosting us, NYCFC, or going on the road to New England. Yeah.
Well, I wish them the best. As far as pure soccer goes, I want New England Revs to win just because they've been the best team of the season. If Philly wins, I'll be happy. If NYCFC goes to the final hosting Real Salt Lake, I would love that just because of how much of a dumpster fire that would be.
Yeah.
And there you go.
We should, speaking of MLS mysteries and dumpster fires, we should also mention that now with Nashville out, MLS is also avoiding having a team win the Eastern Conference that's not in the Eastern Conference next season. Because Nashville is moving to the West.
Oh, Nashville's moving to the West.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, how did they win the Eastern Conference if they're in the West? What I will say is the one conference title that my New York Red Bulls has is a Western Conference title.
You should play
from
that tune.
2008.
Play that cue.
Tune?
Play that cue right one more time right away. What?
Oh, hold on. I'll do this one. I have 2 of them. How does the New York Red Bulls have a Western Conference title if they are an Eastern Conference team?
Couldn't be more
East, it turns out in 2008, the 5th and 6th were wild card slots, and the New York Red Bulls made to the postseason in the Western Conference, and they made a run to the final, winning the Western Conference and eventually losing to Columbus Crew 3-0 in, I believe it was a 2008 MLS Cup final with a great Guillermo Barros Escaloto, I think, assisting, I want to say all 3 goals, at least one. And Columbus Crew won that year under the great Siegfried Schmidt, the Deutsche Amerikaner Ziggy Schmidt, who was born in the Stuttgart area, wherever that was from, but then moved to the United States as a little boy. Ziggy Schmidt, who once again would go down to Tijuana with Yogi Löw and Jürgen Klinsmann. I assume go to a brothel, but they probably did score. And I would love to be a fly on the wall to figure out what craziness they did down there in TJ. The boys are going to TJ. Come on, the Krauts are going to TJ. The great Ziggy Schmidt, who passed away, and a great award was named after him, the Ziggy Schmidt Coach of the Year
award, just won by your boy Bruce.
El Bruce Arena. One of these days I will build a soccer stadium when I'm rich, and it'll be called the Bruce Arena.
The Bruce Arena.
And it'll be the U.S. men's national team's home venue. No, but much deserved from a great, great American coach. The reality, even though Ziggy is great and he passed away, the reality is the title should be called the Bruce Arena Coach of the Year Award because he's won vastly more titles than anybody else, multiple clubs.
But he's still alive, so he probably he'll be all right. He'll be all right with this decision.
Yeah, the great Ziggy, may he live on. Very cool. Do you have any other? So we have one. So we've got the two finals, Portland versus RSL, and then we have Philadelphia awaiting New England versus NYCFC to get that final spot. What are your thoughts on the game? Tomorrow at some point.
Well,
I don't know what time it is.
I'm nervous, of course, about it. New England, has been made of the fact that New England has not played in 29 days. So does that mean they're well rested? Does it mean they're rusty? We won't know. We are, NYCFC.
I can guess. It means they're rusty.
It means they're probably
if Colorado
maybe
is
a little
any less.
rusty. Yeah.
Well, if I were them, I would have scheduled a series of friendlies.
I think they did. There was some talk. They had some. Who did they play? I forget. But yeah, they were doing that, and NYCFC. We're getting a couple of people back. Nicolas Acevedo is back from injury, and so he's an option in the midfield, as well as Gideon Zelalem, who's done with his red card suspension. So we are not as thin as we were in that spot now that Keaton Parks is out. We'll see. I think we've played the refs pretty well this year. I don't think these teams are as far apart as the point differential would suggest. And so I'm hoping, we'll be competitive and get a late winner. I think in the second round we had mostly road wins, except for the Philly shootout. So I'm hoping that trend continues. I'm hoping we can steal one and then go to Philly and then steal another one and then host RSL in the final. Yes.
Maybe. Wonderful. It's a pretty that's not so unrealistic. My heart wants New England to win because they've had such a great season. I want the dominant team to be rewarded for it. But it's the playoffs. Top seed teams go home because they're so, they're rusty. NYCFC is a little more informed, a little on top of it. And they're headed to New England. They've got way less pressure on themselves. Yeah. It's a win-win for them. So
I think that's true. There is the Foxborough is a little weird. There's the turf and it's a little bit of an odd place to play.
The lack of fans. It's going to be weird.
I think from what I hear, there's going to be a bunch of people going, actually.
I hope so. That stadium used to sell out. 2002 MLS Cup final stadium was packed. Would love to host it again. Would love to pack it again. We need to pack that stadium.
I don't think it's going to be sold out on it. How many people? On it? It's Tuesday night.
Packed. I say.
All right.
No. I'm talking about the final. I'm talking about the final. MLS Cup.
Oh, final would. If we had the final in Yankee Stadium, you don't think it would sell out?
Yeah, I know. I think Yankee Stadium would sell out. I'm talking about the Revs, Foxborough. Pack that house. Pack that soccer stadium.
Well, if they keep, they're going to have home field for as long as they can hang in.
As long as they're in. All right. So my as much as I hate to say, I'm predicting NYCFC to go through tomorrow. It's tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m.
Mountain Time. That's right.
Yeah, and 6:30 p.m. Central Time, covering 4 out of 5 zones here in the United States. I guess the other one would be 2:30 in Western Alaska, Hawaii, or whatever the other zone is.
A huge soccer community there. Yeah, those people are going to go nuts.
All the Inuits packing those igloos, watching those MLS
taking work off to watch this game.
Okay. Do you have any last?
I don't think so. I think
or is it time?
Well, we could briefly.
What?
We could briefly just mention that the Man United management, I guess, did not listen to our podcast and my passionate plea to consider Thomas Reis as the next
No.
head coach, and instead they picked another German, Ralf Rangnick.
Well, maybe Thomas Reich pulled his name out of the hat. You know what I mean? Maybe they were about to offer him the contract, but he was so committed to Bochum that he decided against going to Manchester United and decided to keep the head coaching position at Bochum. That would be my theory, I think.
I hope, yeah, that's the only possible explanation.
That's right, because why did Thomas Reich not take the Manchester United position?
That was his for the taking. Yeah.
That was his for the taking. But no, they got my former Red Bull president of soccer, Ralf Rangnick, who I called it, remember? I mentioned he was in talks.
Yeah,
I thought it would
that's
be
true.
a good move.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
listened to me. Hey, nowadays you buy German. You know, for years there were no Germans in England. And then I think Felix Magath went to Fulham. That was like the first German coach in English history. And then the minute Klopp showed up, rest is history. Klopp, Tuchel, Rangnick, Farke, David Wagner. You know, they're like, we need to start buying German. It's working. So
It is, yeah. What do you make of this sort of interim situation? Does he not want to? He doesn't want to coach long term. He doesn't want to.
Ralf Rangnick should be hired to be the director of soccer operations, or whatever that's called, technical director. And part of me is hoping he's being brought in as an interim just to settle a couple things and then to fit that role as someone more like a Zinedine Zidane or something comes in, or a Jesse Marsch, maybe, comes in to be the head coach of Manchester United. Or maybe he'll steal Nagelsmann away from Bayern, maybe, or something. I think he's just there to have a different role. That would be the smart thing. If he's literally just there to coach for a few months then leave, that's a waste of everybody's time and money. I don't know what that's all about.
No, I think the idea is for him to have some other role. But is that possible at a club like Man U that they just sort of hand over authority to him? It seems like that's what they've been struggling with. That that's what they needed to do years ago. Football operations is a mess. Yeah.
They should have done that years ago, and they've been the Manchester United is run by a bunch of bankers, and that's its biggest problem. It's just a profitable business they're very good at. As far as the soccer side of things, they've always needed a little bit of help, a little more support. I remember when Jose Mourinho was there. Not that I think he was a great coach. He was a little past his prime, but he would always complain. He's like, we needed a defender. I told the board they were supposed to get a defender. We didn't get a defender. You know, there were clear complaints that stuff wasn't followed through on.
But that's also his shtick. That's the Mourinho shtick, no? He's done that. He's done that everywhere he went.
Yeah. He's doing that at Roma right now. Talk about dumpster fire. But so I wish him the best. I hope Rangnick does well, because I think I would love for someone like Rangnick to be proven. A man who was once fired at Schalke, once fired at Hannover. I would love for him to be the world's biggest coach, right? I love the fact that he turned himself. In a non-coaching position, his true genius shines through. His geniusness is his coaching. His scouting. He is a second-to-none analyst and scout. His day-to-day tactics are pretty good. They're not bad. But, you know, like he was a caretaker manager at Leipzig. That was his last coaching job. And he did fine. He wasn't bad. But he wasn't really burning it up. You know, he wasn't really lighting it up. So his skills are in soccer operations. Let's hope Manchester United let him take charge of that, and I think Manchester United will start seeing some progress, you know, slowly but surely. Who their actual head coach is, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea.
It's not going to be Jesse Marsch, let's just say that. He seems more likely to, well, we'll see. What do you want?
However, you know what the reality of Jesse Marsch is, though? If he does say get fired pretty soon, because he's on the hot seat, I don't see why he can't go up and be an assistant at Manchester United under Rangnick. He can do that. Oof. I would love to see
the Freddie Juarez career trajectory.
Freddie Juarez. I will say the Carlos Queiroz career trajectory. Former Metro Stars coach Carlos Queiroz, who was the head coach at Real Madrid once upon a time, but always goes back to be the assistant at Man United under Ferguson. That would be, you know. But with that being said, you know, I wish Jesse Marsch all the best. I hope RB Leipzig can turn around. He is in quarantine right now. Hold on.
Jetzt ist es ich gegen ihn oder euch oder egal. It's us against them.
Yes, Jesse, it's you versus the powers that be, because he had a crazy 5-0 destruction against Bruges, and but he wasn't there, but he had a crazy 3-1 home loss to Bayer Leverkusen. They looked terrible, and last week they had a 2-0 loss to Hoffenheim. That's 2 weeks in a row after the international break, where RB Leipzig is supposed to be winning, supposed to be turning around, and they are just sloppy. So what's going on at Leipzig?
They're not winning. It's they really looked well.
What are you thinking about?
Oh,
sorry, it was a little bit of delay there.
They are sinking.
sinking.
Do you want to read the rundown?
Oh, that's right. We skipped. Is it my turn? All right, it is my turn. Let's, just so we all know what's going on, we touched on Ralf Rangnick. Now it's time for
the German Soccer Rundown.
Midweek Europe action. Bayern beats Dynamo Kiev 2-1 in quite the snowy affair. Sevilla beat Wolfsburg 2-0 to keep Wolfsburg in last place of that group, and Dortmund fell 3-1 against Sporting Clube de Portugal, keeping them outside the top two with one game left to go. RB Leipzig beat Club Brugge 5-0 to continue their Jekyll and Hyde ways. On Thursday in the Europa League Thanksgiving special, Timmy Chandler and Eintracht Frankfurt tied Royal Antwerp 2-2. Leverkusen beat Celtic 3-2. Now on the weekend, we have the Friday game, Stuttgart beating Mainz 2-1. And on Saturday, Hertha tie Augsburg 1-1. Bochum defeat Freiburg 2-1, again with a great goal from Pantovic. Köln smashed Gladbach 4-1. What? Fort and Hoffenheim play out to a crazy 3-6 game, with young American Timothy Tillman scoring for fourth. Erling Haaland came off the bench, coming back from injury, to score a great karate kick goal on his return to help Dortmund beat Wolfsburg 3-1. And a COVID-ravaged Bayern beat Arminia Bielefeld an unconvincing 1-0. Yesterday, Frankfurt scores late to get a 2-1 win over Union Berlin, and RB Leipzig hapless at home, losing 3-1 to Bayer Leverkusen. That's your German soccer rundown.
Yeah.
All right.
Very
There
nice.
you
Very
go.
nice.
That's the rundown.
Yeah, shout out to my Scottish friend Kier, who called this. Celtic were up for a while and looking good. And he said, I texted him, I was like, oh, look at this. And I was joking that it proved that Celtic were actually better than Bochum. But then he was like, no, there's been too much European heartbreak in my life. I am not optimistic. And sure enough, they came back to beat Celtic, proving that Celtic are actually not any better than Bochum.
Celtic featuring one Cameron Carter-Vickers. How does your friend feel about CCV?
Oh, I got to ask him. I don't think we've discussed it. Yeah.
I see he got a yellow during the match, but unfortunately 3 goals go past. And Leverkusen turned it around a little bit. 3-2.
Leverkusen is good now, yeah.
They turned it around. Good for them, because they were kind of sleepy. They were not in great shape. But let me check the standings right now. Leverkusen is not doing bad at all.
Are they in third? Is that what I'm remembering?
Let me see. The standings are Leverkusen in third place. That's right.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a gap, a 6-point gap between Dortmund and Bayern. But Leverkusen comfortably in third place. Freiburg in fourth.
There's no 6-point gap between.
Oh, yes, there is. Between Leverkusen and Dortmund.
Oh, but you said Dortmund and Bayern. Okay, yeah. No,
sorry. The Dortmund and Bayern are in their own world up top. 6-point gap. Leverkusen and the rest, as Dortmund and Bayern are running away. I'm just happy to see Dortmund keep up. So if they run away, as long as they run away as a pair, I'm happy. So Leverkusen won 3-1 against RB Leipzig. I don't know what's going on at RB Leipzig. 8th place right now. Maybe it's because Jesse Marsch is missing because he's in COVID. He's in COVID quarantine. I'd love for him to get out. Jesse, you need to fix this by Christmas, okay?
Yeah,
There's 4 match days left till Christmas. You got 5 losses out of 13 games.
Yeah, they looked listless, right? They did not.
They were wide open in the back and no ideas up top. I don't know.
It was one of those games where it looked like they could play for 4 hours and not score a goal. It was a pretty toothless offensive affair.
And that's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So they did it last weekend too against Hoffenheim. So they need to something needs to happen. Let's see who they're playing next week. But even then, they need to step it up. They're playing Union Berlin in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough game.
Yeah, that's a difficult game.
We'll see. That's the East German derby, isn't it? Leipzig going up to former East Berlin. That's
That'll
the
be interesting.
DDR derby.
I watched the Union. I watched the Union. I watched Frankfurt play the Union this weekend, and Frankfurt looking very zippy for a lot of it. Like very sort
They got
of
the winner at the
fluid
death, right?
Yeah, but it looked like
yeah.
it didn't look like it should have been that close. Frankfurt seemed pretty dominant, and then Union, was pretty resilient, but in the end, well deserved victory. I also realized you mentioned him in the rundown. I've kind of forgotten about Timothy Chandler. He's still around. He's still
everybody forgot Timothy Chandler.
Right?
He's never left. He's never left. But and he's had
regular
good form. He's been in and out. But like 2 years ago, he had a great form on the wing, and that's what people were talking about, bringing Timmy Chandler back. And now Timmy Chandler's back again, and especially with our lack of depth at wing backs. But Timmy Chandler is a mercenary. He always was only half of himself for the U.S. men's national team. So, and also, I wouldn't be surprised if him and Berhalter had a private conversation, and Timmy Chandler just said, I'm retired. Don't consider me. I would not be surprised by that at all. I mean, do you remember Fabian Johnson? He was Irish goodbye. He was a great player. At 29, his contract with Gladbach ran out, and no one's seen or heard from him since. So he just 100% Irish goodbye. And he was a great player. Of all the German Americans, he was my favorite.
He was very good for a while, yeah. And
he was part of the Germany under-21 team that won the Euros.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those guys would later become the World Cup winning squad. Fabian Johnson could play, but again, he had that thing where he was a little bit of a mercenary. You don't see that too much from John Brooks, but with Timmy Chandler, you see that. As famously, Timmy Chandler told Bobby Wood one day at practice a few years ago, "Hey man, don't give it your all because you owe Hamburg not to get injured." Essentially, he told Bobby Wood to bend over backwards for his club, and not really give a crap about the national team. And that's the behavior you saw from Timmy Chandler and Johnson. Which is why they're probably not involved anymore.
That's what they said, right, under Klinsmann, that the locker room was divided, that they were the Germans and the Americans, and there was
during the CONCACAF Cup, Fabian Johnson came off the field simply because he wanted to avoid getting injured. Like he thought he sort of faked a little bit of a thigh injury, wanting himself to get off. Turns out his thigh was fine. He just didn't want to push himself too much.
Yeah.
And Klinsmann's like, we need that substitution for something else. And they had a talk about his commitment, quote unquote. But, he then went to the press saying he wants to retire internationally after the 2018 World Cup, which is hilarious because he was 28. And then he never qualified, didn't care. And then at the end of the season, just never re-signed his contract with Gladbach. So his heart truly just wasn't in it. Who retires at 29 if they care?
What is he? Where are they now? Okay, we'll save that for the special. For the Where Are They Now special.
But anyway, so Frankfurt are in 12th place. They need to turn around. So something happened. They're turning around. Do you want to talk about Bochum? Your great Bochum?
I mean, I'm just really speechless about them. And this was, similarly to Frankfurt, this did not look like it was going to go well. Freiburg also looking very solid, very fluid, and dangerous. And Manuel Riemann, I was going to say, stood on his head, although I don't really like that expression that that people use in this country about goalkeepers standing on their heads. It's like nobody ever actually stands on their head. And it's
how would you say that in German? What's a German
phrase? Yeah, I don't know. It's not I don't know. I don't have a good idiom, but he had 10 big saves, which I think was his personal record. And then Pantovic again with the across midfield out of nothing. The ball sort of bounces off of the defender, and he just without hesitation lobs it into the goal.
That's a second half court goal, half field goal in like 3 weeks.
In like three games. Yeah. There's really two and other than, and also not to forget, Sebastian Polter scored a legit one-on-one, chance. He didn't lay it off to anyone. He actually took a shot, not make the keeper. So they're finding ways. It's really incredible, because this was a game. I think Gerhard Streich, the coach, afterwards said that this was the most unjust result he had ever experienced in his entire career. And I think, that's probably laying it on a little thick, but I know what he was saying.
You're talking about Christian Streich said that?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. The Freiburg head coach. Yeah, that's typical.
Did I call him Gerhard?
I was a little confused. I thought maybe he was a Bochum co-coach.
Apologies. Christian Streich was very upset, and he said that this was the most unjust result he'd ever experienced. And I think I understand what he's saying. I did not think. I thought when it looked like it was going to end 1-1, I thought, pretty. We'll take the fortunate point, and then this crazy goal happened. But the team is resilient, and they keep finding ways to win. I mean, how many of those is he going to score for the rest of the year? Probably not that many, but.
Well, he already scored one, so is that two? Maybe a third before the year's over. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, it's also the downside is he's probably not going to try this every time. We had that happen with NYCFC when David Villa against Philly once scored this great goal from midfield, and that was great. But then subsequently, like in a lot of games after, he would try it when he had, and it was like, no, this is not going to happen again. Just.
Once upon a time, a little MLS history here, and I don't know when, the late aughts, 06, 07, maybe 08, 09, I don't remember, but Colorado signed a player named De La Torre, I believe was his name. He was part of a Mexican soccer family. His uncle and dad were big Mexican legends in his day. His cousin's a player. I think his big brother was a player. He was part of some big family. He himself was just a pro, a couple contracts here, a couple contracts there. Anyway, Colorado picked him up, and he said, I'm going to score on his introductory press conference. He's like, I'm going to score a half goal line goal here in MLS, which is some weird promise. And then he spent the entire season trying. He never scored from halfway, by the way. But he spent the entire season trying. At the end of the season, he was cut.
A weird promise to make. That's funny. That's incredible.
He was cut, and I think he played in the minors for a year, like minor league American soccer, and that was the end of his career. But I just love it. He's like, MLS, I'm just going to score halfway on you. He just did it over and over again and kept failing.
Yeah, because that is frustrating to watch when you have. It's sort of like Eric Dyer taking free kicks for Tottenham. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like you buy season tickets, have the best, have the best do what they do best. Try to win the game. Why don't you? Yeah. But yeah, Bochum doing well, playing tough. They're Greuther Fürth is the loser of the promoted.
Wow,
unfortunately, with our Julian Gleen and our Timothy Tillman. Bochum is in 13th place. They're surviving. Yeah. They might have a second. It's a little early, but maybe they'll spend some time up here in the Bundesliga for a while. See what that's like.
Well, let's just survive. We're only 3 points away from 6. It's way too early to celebrate anything, but I'm very impressed, and they're certainly exceeding my expectations, and also especially given them being a little underpowered defensively, like finding these sort of fluky goals is big, and they're gonna have to keep finding them, because Polter, I think this was like his second of the year or third, and he's going to be in single digits. I'm going to predict. I don't think he'll get that many. We'll see.
Maybe Ricardo Pepi should be loaned to Bochum. Wolfsburg will buy him and loan him to Bochum for the season.
Can't afford him, right? You don't have that kind of money.
A loan?
A loan?
They can't afford a loan. So I'm saying he gets bought by Wolfsburg, loan him to Bochum for the rest of the season, right?
Yep,
kind of like how Zach Steffen made his way to Fortuna Düsseldorf through a loan.
I'm on board.
How well do you think Ricardo Pepi would do? Do you think he'd play? Do you think he'd score?
I think Yeah, I think so. I mean, we are very
hope
like
so.
the number 9 position is very thin after Zoller's injury, and so I think he definitely get a chance. Yeah.
Maybe Josh Sargent will make his way back to the Bundesliga. Huh? You take Josh Sargent?
I don't know. Polter is better than Sargent.
Yeah, I won't argue with that right now. Okay, do you have any other things to talk about before we talk about fan culture in Germany?
Oh, right.
Because we can also talk about Werder Bremen. Werder Bremen's coaches were fired because they had falsified documents. Speaking of, and then Daniel Farke from the former Norwich coach is linked to the post, but so is my Gerhard Struber, my Austrian Young Rebels coach. And I say, lay your hands off my Struber. Hands off my Struber. That's my Apfelstruber. That's my Apfelstruber.
Got 2 wins against NYCFC. This guy has got to be amazing.
Do I want Werder Bremen to get my Struber? Nein. Finger weg. Hands off my Struber. I think Daniel Farke would be a great appointment. Werder Bremen tried to pull a fast one over the DFB by having falsified COVID shot record.
That was a crazy story, right? Yeah, these coaches sort of making up these vaccination documents.
What is the deal? Just get a shot.
Just get the shot. Yeah.
The DFB chef came out and said that there are 86 unvaccinated players in the league, which is a very specific number. That means they've done it, which is surprisingly low if there's 25 players per roster. But 80,
but
do
that's
it, man.
like
Get a shot.
It's like 5 players.
What is it?
It's 5 players per team. It's not.
Yeah, something like that. And the other thing is Leipzig played in front of an empty crowd, and was it Köln that played in front of a packed 50,000 seat stadium? I believe Köln, who beat Gladbach 4-1, right, in a crazy game. Or in a great game from Köln.
Das Niederrhein Derby.
And there was a big sign saying, please wear your mask, which is hilarious, because the minute you look at the stands, no one's got their mask on. It's just a packed 50,000 seater house. So there are some regions in Germany where the numbers are high, like in the east, like in Leipzig in the south, and Bayern. Bayern only allowed 19,000 fans in the stands, but only 11,000 showed up. Did you know that? Only 11,000 fans showed up out of the allotted 19,000. Do you know why that is?
Why?
Do you know why that is? Well, I'm glad you brought it up. The way it works in Germany is there's the 50+1 rule, and the fans, which are paying members of the club, have a say in their club. Were you ever a season ticket holder for Bochum? Yeah, right?
I was a season ticket holder. I tried to become a member, actually, a few years back, and somehow me living in the US precluded this from happening. I don't know if this was an actual rule that you have to live in Germany to be a member, or if they just had trouble with the logistics of it. But I contacted
we don't have internet, so it's like we don't have internet.
Yeah, I don't know what was like.
No emails.
I contacted them a couple times, and it never really worked out. So
that sounds weird to me.
Yeah,
but you know, it is what it is. You can run the American fan group, I guess, or something. But Bayern München probably has the biggest membership of them all, at least close to it, probably the biggest. And they had their yearly AGM. The annual general meeting, I guess, although in German it's called something else.
Jahreshauptversammlung.
Jahreshauptversammlung, the yearly main meeting, right?
Main meeting, yeah. Main
meeting,
assembly.
translate?
Yeah, that's it.
And it was held in a thing, and it was a doozy this year. For the podcast listeners, you can listen, and then for the viewers, we're going to add a little bit of a visual aid. So I'm going to play some of this with you. They had a crazy meeting, and I just want to share it here on the Schnitzel Boys and maybe translate it for an American audience and just to communicate what is going on, because I think this is lovely. You ready, Bjorn?
Let's go, yeah.
So what you just heard is Wer sind Bayern, du
und
bist
ihr
nicht.
Und ihr nicht.
Und ihr nicht. We are Bayern, you are not. They're yelling at the president And
but not just him. I guess it's plural, so they must
the
not
board.
like the entire board. Yeah,
Entire board.
we are
and here's
Bayern
why.
and we are Bayern and you are not. Which I guess, in light of the whole Mia San Mia thing,
Exactly.
is the biggest insult of all. Yeah,
100%. It's very Mia's on Mia.
Eigentlich in Top-Anträge zu behandeln, weil Sie müssen mir sagen, ob Sie den Antrag...
Ja, das sage ich Ihnen doch anschließend.
Dass Sponsoring-Verträge mit Qatar Airways oder anderen mehrheitlich im Eigentum des Emirats Katar stehenden Unternehmen zum nächstmöglichen Zeitpunkt auslaufen gelassen werden und nicht verlängert oder neu abgeschlossen werden.
Okay.
Kurze Anmerkung.
So that's one of the fan representatives saying that we have issue with your relationship with Qatar Airways, the Qatar sponsorship, because of human rights issues. As you know, as people maybe know or don't know, Qatar has been doing a lot of sketchy stuff. Thousands of these migrant slave workers have died building these stadiums, and they just have clear. Also, they have these arcane laws. There's a whole LGBTQ supporters group as part of Bayern, and they're taking all this money from a country that'll have them hanged. So there's clearly some difference of opinion and values between the fans and the way Bayern takes money. So this fan is asking them to let that sponsorship run out and not renew, and that's what they're clapping for.
Nochmal, ich werde das nachher erläutern und ich glaube, dass ich Ihnen auch überzeugend darstellen kann. Ja, Sie können natürlich buhen, aber wissen Sie,
So the president's saying, don't worry, we'll talk about it later. Yeah, you can boo me. I'm going to convince you why it makes sense. Pretty much the president doesn't want to hear anything about it. He's just here to convince the fans that contract is going to be re-signed and that sponsorship money is going to flow through. Much to the chagrin of the fans. I love that German-American phrase, du kannst mich boon. Means you can boo me, which I think is hilarious.
das ist keine argumentative Auseinandersetzung. Wir werden uns
Ja, genau. Ich würde mich gerne auch argumentativ damit auseinandersetzen.
Pretty much the president's like, we have our own arguments, and the fans like, yeah, we also have our own. We'd love to talk to you about this.
He's saying, the president is saying, you can boo, but that's not really making making your point. And the fan representative saying, well, I would like to make my point, but the president is excusing them of them not being, not wanting to have a debate. And the fan representative saying, well, I'm happy to debate. You're the one who doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, the president's like, I'll tell you later, quote unquote, whatever that may be. Let's talk about it later, even though it's the meeting now.
Wir machen das ja. Aber das ist jetzt nicht der Ort.
Okay.
He says we will have that debate, but now is not the time or place, which is crazy because it's the meeting.
Sie betonen immer wieder, wie wichtig der Dialog ist, aber sie schaffen es nicht einmal mit den
So essentially, more complain, and then they do this weird motion. The Qatar motion did not go up for a vote, but they just general motion to commit to anti-discrimination in their values. So that general vote went up, which is why it's directly related to the Qatar concept, but the club is trying to keep those as separate concepts. Like the club wants to vote for them to be like, yeah, we agree to commit to diversity and anti-discrimination and human rights support, but they have no interest in not
and what exactly
this huge Qatar sponsorship.
What exactly that means, we'll talk about later.
Yeah, exactly. But that means about that later. So they went to this other vote that everybody voted on, including an Uli Hoeneß, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like the back of Uli Hoeneß is his head, right?
Also anti-discrimination.
Or am I wrong, right? That looks like Uli Hoeneß right there.
I think so.
Could be wrong. So that was an overwhelming vote.
Sie werden mir als Versammlungsleiter zugestehen, dass ich die Wortmeldungsliste schließen kann.
So now there's still a line of fans wanting to say their piece because they're very serious about it. And the president just said, well, it seems like we're done with our meeting today. And no, what does he say exactly? He says
as the one who's running this meeting, it's within his discretion to close the list of speakers at this point. Yeah.
he's trying to censor them.
He just wants to be done. Yeah.
Und damit beschließe ich die Jahreshauptversammlung.
Just saying, and now we're closing the meeting.
And then that's it. And he's ending the meeting.
Raus. This is FC Bayern president Herbert Heine. Who I believe. I forgot where they got him from. I think it was maybe an Adidas exec before he came in. And now they want him gone. And then, although they left, the fans that wanted to speak held like a town hall, like they were about to burn down Frankenstein's mansion. When you sit there, they're yelling how unacceptable this is. So there you go, and that right there is what happened at the Bayern AGM. You saw the fans at the end being like, yeah, clapping for themselves. They're about to burn the house down over there in Bayern HQ. So what do you think about that, Bjorn?
I think this Mr. Heyer did an exceptionally poor job of managing this.
Yeah, I just love that. He's like, I'm going to end the meeting right now, and
I think we're done. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, let's talk about it later. Let's go to the beer garden and let's discuss it over a drink.
Even if you were to offer a counterpoint, do it right there. Like, just do it right there. Have a discussion. Like, what's the point? Like, hear him out. Hear your fans out.
What could his point? What could his point possibly be? We really like that money. We don't. But the checks.
You don't understand.
The checks are clearing. Don't you understand?
You don't get it. I get a 1% commission off those checks, guys.
It's very.
You don't get
very
it.
Good
I want to hear this.
Bottom line.
I want to hear this again. I love that for two reasons. Because the fans are speaking up, and I would love for MLS to have annual meetings that go just like that. I would love for MLS fans to call out their absentee owners. I would love for them to wonder why they didn't spend money on players this year. I would love for them to wonder why you're playing on turf, or wonder why you're playing in the enemy stadium this year. I would love fans to ask for answers, and that part of me, I love the fact that they will fight against their club to get what they want, and hopefully they'll get it. I think they vote the president out or something. We'll see what happens, but more power to them. I think there's a lot of travesty going on in the whole Qatar situation with the World Cup, and I love the fact that they're speaking out against it. I wish as a fan I had more of a say. I would love to storm FIFA headquarters and ask them what their deal is, why they're so corrupt, why they've sold the World Cup bid to freaking Qatar, and why so many populous nations.
That whole thing is an absolute travesty, and but does that mean we're not going to watch it?
Honestly, that's the thing. I'm going to watch it, but I don't. I wish I didn't. I wish I wasn't going to watch it.
I was waiting for the 999. Yeah, no.
Ask me that one more time. Sorry, ask me that one more time.
This is it's a complete travesty. There's human rights violations, and it really shouldn't be happening. But honestly, does that mean we're not going to watch it?
A 99999. We're not going to watch it, which means we're going to watch it. We're going to watch the USA make it to the quarters, and we're going to watch Germany make it to the final. That's what we're going to watch. 2022, baby. Germany does well in the Middle East. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. USA less so. USA less so. So we'll see.
All right. I think...
That explains it. We got some big games right there. Classica on Saturday.
Classica is coming
up. Real quick, who's your bet for the Classica on Saturday? Haaland's playing. Kimmich still in COVID quarantine, so they will be out without Kimmich, but Dortmund will be with Haaland. So what's your pick?
I hope Dortmund. I hope just for interestingness sake, and they're already sort of closer than I thought they'd be at this point, and so good for them. And I think they can beat them. I think Bayern's definitely not at their best, and so I think 2-1 victory Dortmund.
2-1 Dortmund. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, I'm gonna give it maybe a 3-2 to Bayern.
Ooh.
As much as my heart wants Dortmund to win because I want it to be exciting, the reality is Bayern just doesn't lose these games. So
They're going to
We'll
lose
see it.
this one.
Lewandowski will be there. Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see it. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, my friend. I hope you are right. Do you have any last thoughts?
Go NYCFC tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 Mountain, 4:30 Western. Go NYCFC. I'm very curious how the game will play out. And I wish you all, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I'll see you guys next week. Please subscribe, tell your friends about the YouTube dealy here. Click that bell. And if you're listening via the podcast, rate and review us and leave us a review on iTunes. Or, tell your friends. Pretty much get the word out. We are on Twitter at Schnitzel Boys Pod. Feel free to follow us. We also have a Facebook page, the Schnitzel Boys. Feel free to like that page. And we have an email, schnitzelboyspod@gmail.com. Give us a shout. Send us a message. We'll read it.
Yeah.
We'll communicate with you. We're nice guys. Anyway, bis nächste Woche. Tschüss.
Tschüss, Stefan.
Tschüss, Björn.
Mach's gut.